And back for another round of talking about attachment styles and dating. This time we're talking about disorganized attachment style. And let me just start and say, this is a really difficult one for relationships because essentially what disorganized attachment style is a combination of anxious attachment and avoidant attachment mixed together. And really where this stems from as a child is that someone experienced parents who both could not be counted on, but also were occasionally abusive or worse. And so in that situation, the child learns that not only do they want that connection from their parent, but also that it might be unsafe to have it. So they learn they can't count on it and it might be unsafe if they get it. And so what this means is as they grow up into an adult, they feel very conflicted about love. And the reason for that is, again, they can't count on it and it's very scary. And so this kind of classically looks like a push-pull type relationship with someone where they seemingly really, really want you at one moment and they need you and that feels really, really good. And then about the time you get close to them, they push you away. Now, this is difficult, and a lot of the reason it's difficult is because it's very hard to predict. So if you're dating someone who has this attachment style, it may change day by day, right? So some hallmarks of this attachment style are that they struggle to open up. They will sometimes act out. They go towards unsuitable partners. They've got trust issues. They can be demanding. They can struggle to regulate emotions. And really the thing that I would say more than anything is the struggle is just that it's very inconsistent behavior. And so if someone is like a securely attached person and they date someone who's disorganized, we go from this person who is very predictable and stable to someone who is not, right? And in the space of not being stable and not being able to be predictable, that's really hard to formulate a healthy relationship. Like, how do we actually have a healthy relationship when the ground is moving all the time? So if you're hearing this, you might be saying, wow, I've got disorganized attachment. This means I'm unfit for relationships. That is not what I'm saying, just so you can be really clear about that. Or if you're dating someone, you might say, wow, I should run for the hills. And that is also not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that for this to really work, what happens is oftentimes this disorganized person needs to get some therapy and some help so they can work through some of these things that wounded them so badly and begin to have some stability in their life. Because if they don't have the stability in their life, the relationship can't be the only thing that provides that for them. It's just too much of a burden for the other person. And so the first step that that person needs to take is to get some help professionally to work through some of that trauma and those experiences. Then, as they're dating, they need to be aware of what's going on with them. And they need to know, because they can do this, they can be insightful and aware about it, that they are going to have this push-pull desire, right? They're going to say in the dating process, wow, I really, really want them, and now I've got that, I don't want it anymore, and I'm going to push them away. And as that disorganized person begins to have some insight and awareness and professional help, what happens is they begin to become more stable and secure. And as they do this, dating becomes a lot easier. If this person does not do any work and they don't know what's going on within them, they will simply bounce from relationship to relationship over and over and over again, oftentimes, unfortunately, creating the same issue that made them the disorganized attachment style in the first place, meaning they become apparent to a child that they are not trustworthy, and they might even be someone who hurts their child or who neglects them or abandons them. And so the goal here is if you've got disorganized attachment style, first, I'm so sorry that happened, because I know that again comes from a place of woundedness that the child never asked for. And then secondly, now that you know, what can you do? And as you start to do the work, know that dating will get easier. If you are in the thick of it and you look back at your relational history and you see that this has been disorganized attachment style and you just kind of have this like track record of being push-pull all the time, just realize like your first step now is to get some help. If you're already in a relationship with someone where you say, that's not my attachment style, but that's theirs, then you need to have a conversation with them about how we can work towards more security. Now, we can do that through like couples therapy, but they also need to do their own work trauma-wise to work through some of the things that led them to that attachment style. Now, as you can probably tell, this is not easy. This is not like an easy relational pairing, and the reason for that is just because there's a lot of woundedness and struggle, and this person did not see a healthy relationship, did not have a healthy relationship with their parents, and so they don't quite know what to replicate. They know what they don't want, but they don't know what to replicate. And so where I see couples get really into trouble is that oftentimes someone comes along who's more securely attached and they decide they are going to rescue this person who's had such a terrible story and had a rough life. And so they say, like, I hear that, I see that, I'm empathic, I want to save you from all of this. And in the attempt to save that person, especially if the other person is unwilling to do the work, or doesn't even know they need to do the work, what happens is that securely attached person gets pulled right into the chaos. And while that disorganized person is used to it, the securely attached person isn't. And so what happens is now we have this very tumultuous and volatile relationship that for the securely attached person is very, very difficult. And so when those relationships end, there's often a lot of collateral damage because that disorganized attachment person moves on, right? They say like, yep, that was chaos, that was trauma. That's how that works. It's how I've experienced relationships. But for the other person who is attempting to rescue them, they say, wow, like I really got hurt in this. Like I didn't see that coming. I didn't know people could do that. I didn't know it could end that way. And so this really hurt me to be in this relationship. And so what needs to happen is just we need to have some insight and awareness about what our attachment style is, what we're bringing to the table. And by the way, everyone's bringing something to the table. So again, I just want to reiterate, like if this is you, if you've got disorganized attachment style, like no, like that doesn't make you a bad person. In fact, that illustrates that you're very resilient because you made it this far. This is just an invitation to do some more work. If you're in a relationship where it sounds like, man, maybe I am in a relationship with someone who's got this attachment style, just know that's really important and you need to have a conversation about that. And with help, it can get better. The goal, just to talk to you from a therapeutic perspective, if we have a couple that's working through this issue, say someone is disorganized attachment style and someone's more secure, the goal really is just to establish like what are our values relationally, what are the things that we know to be true, and then how do we hold ourselves to them with accountability. Because again, if you think about the disorganized attachment style, they're going to kind of bounce up and down, right? And so just about the time that it's up, it's going to be down and then back up again and down. And so what that more securely attached person needs is they just need stability. And by the way, the disorganized person wants that as well. They just don't know how to get it. And so therapeutically, what the goal is to work through some of those traumatic experiences, develop a greater sense of self and resilience, and then help you to be more stable. Because then, instead of going like this and swinging wildly from up to down or invested to leaning out of the relationship, what happens is you start to say like, okay, there's still those peaks and valleys, but they're a lot less frequent or they're muted, right? They're not so intense. The highs aren't so high, the lows aren't so low. We're just stable, and that's how we have a lasting relationship. As you listen to this, is this you? Is this your partner? Is this someone you know? What can you do with this information that's helpful? Sometimes I see people label someone as disorganized, and then that's like this terrible thing, and they should just be kind of thrust into this other place and say like, you're not good for love, you're not qualified. And I just want to finish by saying that's not true at all. And in fact, some of those beliefs are why we keep perpetuating this pattern that is really, really unhealthy in relationships, whereby we just label somebody and we feel like that's a good enough way to deal with them, is if I've labeled you, that's enough. And so what I just say like is this isn't something that if you have, it means you can't have relationships, but it is something that if you have, you need to work through unless you want to have relationships that are really volatile and chaotic. I hope this is helpful to you. If you are interested in attachment styles and dating or even getting past your past, I literally have a book called Get Past Your Past. I've got an attachment course, all the things, and on my channel, I provide lots of free content around attachment styles, relationships, faith, all the important things. So follow me for more.